a very reasonable, real lifetime possibility action movie.
Oh, definitely.
Marvel could do this.
I can't believe they haven't already. Or
it could be a groundbreaking next step for StarLord.
Yeah.
In both of our opinions.
Well, it would actually be a very good movie, I think.
Just talking about where the character could fit in, I believe in the first Guardians, Rocket and Groot catch the bounty on StarLord on Xandar. Because that's where the Nova Corps police come and surround him.
That's right.
You could have broke him in there.
Right then and there. And he could have been the one that come down and instead of John C. Reilly, it could have been him.
That would have been
introduced him. But I also like your other theory of now that he's kind of retired from the Guardians, there's a new team. Now he's got to have something more to keep his story going. Bring Nova Prime in and say, hey, look, man, we're a mess out here without you and the rest of the Guardians, and then just throw a spin on some crazy story. That would be cool based off what they have now.
Right.
The only other crazy spin, which I feel like he's too much of a beloved character to like basically make him turn heel and just steal it out of, being evil. So there would have to be some type of like torn situation or a situation where he felt so torn that he felt like he had no choice but to steal the helmet. It had to be something like that, and obviously that scenario does happen in a lot of these situations where Captain America, is protecting Bucky, but really Bucky's the one that did all the bad stuff. Same scenario, and so it would have to take something like that because I feel like if they were to turn heel on the character and make him evil and Nova Prime's the good guy trying to fight back, then I think it gets a little squirrely there.
Yeah.
What you got?
You said a lot there. But I kind of was going turn heel.
Yeah.
He's going to be a heel.
So you're saying he needs to turn heel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just go full on.
That's why I was just kind of like laughing, smiling. Because I was like, oh, well, you just.
Well, this is why.
Completely turned against me.
This is why we meet at the writer's table.
Correct.
So,
yeah, I got it.
Yeah, because you're going a completely different way. Yeah, you're going a complete heel, and I'm thinking about a damn,
And maybe not complete heel,
Well, I mean, if you're not doing it for what a reason, and like I'm saying, how are you not full turning heel if you're going against?
Well, I see it maybe lies and manipulation, some scavengers, maybe not Rocket, maybe nobody close to him, some lower ranked scavengers asking him to help them on this last mission. He's been bored on Earth, so he's into it, and then he breaks into this place that he doesn't check up on because he's been out of the game so long.
Right.
Ends up with something powerful in his hand with a warrant on it, and he's busted.
Right. Okay. So
I don't know if that's heel or because I don't know. What do you?
Yeah, because like you said, in the first
heel would keep the mask.
Right. In the first Guardians, I mean, he was already stealing stuff. He's already considered a thief. I mean, he was raised, by Yondu and all that. So he already has no problem with stealing from the Nova Corps or being that heel. I don't think that's the problem. It would be the reasoning behind it. So if it was like some type of malicious reason or like an evil intent, that would, course the story a different way. Whereas if it was like a decision that he had to make because the situation was, bigger than him or bigger than that decision or something like that.
They could have manipulated him to break in and get it.
You're right.
As he's handing the mask over, he is revealed their plan. And then he's like, I can't let this happen. Slides the mask on. And then it's so much power and almost brainwashed, and he doesn't have control. And the mask kind of turns him into the heel because he's not familiar with, because from doing some research, the mask chooses the person, and it doesn't work unless the DNA matches the
person they choose
process. So maybe he doesn't match with it, but he puts it on and
counteracts the normal
turns
abilities.
Into the heel mask.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to ask you, that was where I was about to go into, is because we would be contradicting ourselves, because once you put on the helmet takes over. So
to a degree.
Well, to a degree, but
gives you powers and access to the computer.
Right, but it also puts you in the position as Nova Prime.
Right.
So the helmet knows that its purpose is to be Nova Prime. So does Peter turn heel in a sense to where he becomes Nova Prime and he turns heel against all of his ex friends and stuff like that are still bad guys, or does he turn heel like you said? He wasn't compatible, but he was powerful enough to make it work, and it changed the operation of the helmet.
I mean, you don't really have to contradict yourself. I feel like you have to be specific that he broke into Nova Prime's headquarters and got Nova Prime's mask.
Right. Yeah.
Because different rank officers have different power access, and so maybe if he just snuck into an inventory.
He would never get to that point.
Right. But if he does, which would be the chosen path to go with the Nova Prime mask.
Right. The real person that should have the helmet after whoever this Nova Prime is now could be like a third generation cousin or like a third generation brother or sister to Peter Quill. So that's why it kind of works and not completely works, because he has some of their DNA, but not all of it. So then he also has like this cosmic energy from being basically a celestial by being Ego's son. But that's the power that helps basically take up the rest of the helmet. Right. So he's got like this piece of control because he has a little bit of the DNA. Yeah. Because the real person that's supposed to get it is, 3 families down the line or something like that. So something crazy, full circle back to it.
Right. It could just be he has a family member he doesn't know about in the Nova Corps. And their DNA is in the computers.
Their DNA is the right
masks the system, so it kind of picks him up through that. In that way, it's not difficult to explain.
Or if it does become too difficult to explain, or creates a loophole, it could be like he does know that he has a cousin, and he has to go get his DNA.
Ego used to be a Nova Corps member. Yeah, to get his.
Oh man, that would be crazy. Yeah. So him and Ego could like meet before he even knows that Ego is even his father. And they could do this whole heist together. And Ego could really be the villain behind the closed curtain. You see what I'm saying?
Because he can't get upper ranks. He's got.
We're both making exaggerated noise to each other. I like that idea. You bring Ego in. That'll kind of help.
That gives you a backstory.
It'll give you a backstory, but it also help Peter advance through the ranks a little bit easier with help of Ego, maybe. Because he does have some type of power.
Peter Quill doesn't have to be a member.
So
Ego knows StarLord is his son and knows he's a big theft. He knows he's been retired, and
so he'll come find him kind of like he did the second time in the second movie. He'll come
taking advantage of him being bored, thinking about space. They get him on this easy last mission because Ego somehow can't go up in ranks at the Nova Corps. He's failing tests or just doesn't have that ability to. So a mastermind manipulates his 5-star theft son, StarLord, into breaking in and getting the highest ranked mask.
Nice.
Bam. Ego tries to win over StarLord by introducing himself as his father. Hey, this master evil plan is okay because I'm your father.
Because I'm your father, yeah.
Right. StarLord says, nope.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah. So it's kind of
in the movie one.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the basis of kind of the second one. Ego introduces himself, tells him like what his plan is. Yeah,
we'll just make a different movie.
Yeah, obviously we'll bring in like a different idea of what Ego's trying to get or what he's going after, other than just having the helmet and being, the highest ranking member of the Nova Corps. Yeah. So we could really take it either way. You could go that way because it has different origins, it has different build up. Yeah. And then you can change out the characters within. Maybe the Guardians don't even have anything to do with this. This is after the fact.
Hey, I haven't seen a spot for them to be in. Really.
Yeah, like I said, like you said, he's already retired, and Ego takes advantage of that.
Rockets and Groot's off.
Yeah, running the new Guardians. Yeah. And I thought that would be pretty interesting too if instead of him turning heel, he actually becomes Nova Prime. That sentient being pretty much takes over him that he can't control, and he becomes top dog. Now he's top dog. He
plays
the Nova
heel
Corps
for a good second, right at the peak.
Yeah,
he plays heel,
and then it shows its power, saying like you can't. Yeah. That negative ain't gonna work.
They just meet that neutral.
Yeah, and work together.
2 cosmic energies in his upgrade.
Something like that, because I don't know how far it goes as to like how much consciousness does the person in the helmet have. So like if Nova. So like you got the helmet on, you're hunting down a rocket. He stole something super important to the Nova Corps, and you have no choice because you can't control him. Do you even have a conscious mind to even help make that decision, or is the helmet completely making that decision? It don't care that you and Rocket was friends and y'all used to steal together.
No,
you see what I'm saying? Like, does he get to make that conscious decision in that moment?
Well, my response to that will come from the source of Disney Plus. He's in one of their episodes, several episodes in one of their series, and it shows you how he works and how he moves around in space. But it's kind of like a Jarvis helmet, you know. You have because the mask just issues you permission to access. I think I messed that up, but you can access the Nova Force, which is just a central computer system, huge, living robots, and so you kind of just communicate with them, and they operate through that mask. So I don't believe they're unconscious and unable to make decisions on their own.
Richard Rider was the original Nova, and it was almost like he was like destined to be the Nova. So would it full circle back to it was always destined for Peter Quill to become Nova, or could he have always been StarLord without being Nova? You see what I'm saying?
Well, what I got was from what I looked up, it kind of just randomly happened. He was randomly chosen to become a member, and then the Annihilation era destroyed the whole Nova Corp. It just left him. But
right here it says Richard Rider, the original Nova, was an ordinary high school student from Earth who was chosen by the Dian Raman Day, a member of the Nova Corps, to inherit his powers and continue Rama's mission.
So it's kind of like the Green Lantern.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, he crash landed. And, he's passing it on pretty much. Yeah, he got probably. I don't know the specifics, but if I would have to try to explain that to somebody that didn't know, that's what I would say.
Some stuff I found. He has access to the Nova Force.
Okay. That's what you were talking about just a while ago.
Right. That's what the helmet gives you, basically.
Right.
Access to. And that's the living computers of Xandar, a.k.a. the World Mind. Ranking officers have more power. Higher ranking officers have more power. It plays out. At some point, Richard Rider downloads the whole World Mind. And it's not like he meet the rankings. He just something happened.
He's got it all.
Yeah. In which that allows him full control of the Nova Force, grants him energy protection, kind of like Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And absorption. He also can create wormholes. And that was actually one of my things. I kind of linked him with Ego in the story earlier when I told you off camera.
Yeah.
He could embrace his Ego DNA and use the wormholes to travel wherever he needs to attack, get resources, whatever, jump back home to recharge easily with his wormhole ability.
And that's with the Nova helmet.
Yes.
Yeah, because he'll have that ability with the helmet. Yeah, see, that's crazy. And he would be one of those unstoppable galactic forces that Captain Marvel would probably ultimately have to step in and fight.
Oh, yeah.
With the Nova helmet and just that StarLord intuition. I don't know if she takes him. Obviously, she's considered the strongest one, but
Nova is actually ranked. Don't hate me, but I want to say he was ranked 8th in Marvel's strongest superheroes.
Okay. Well,
could be wrong.
He's ranked even higher on characters that fans want to see Marvel do.
Really?
Yeah, and I just literally read the line right here. It said the MCU has introduced the Nova Corp and Nova Prime, but never Richard Rider. So they haven't introduced the actual Nova.
So maybe when this lady passes, we can get a new one.
Right. Or they can completely separate it and make Nova Prime just an appointed seat at the table, and then Nova being the standalone hero that just is the head guy.
Right.
You could get away with that, like I said, because nobody really even knows who that lady was other than her. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that because I feel like for her to be in such an important role, they had to have brought more attention to that specific role that we weren't paying attention to. But if they didn't, they might have already thought about this and separated that character from what they're going to introduce as Nova.
Yes, Keanu Reeves.
Oof.
That was one of the fan picks.
And Keanu Reeves is picked to be in any MCU movie at this point. And
I'll jump over to Peter Quill and give you some information that I thought was
let's go with that. Let's go
weird.
With that. Because we kind of know his origin story from the movies. They got that pretty good.
Yeah.
It was specifically Yondu. It was Ravengers. His mom died. He was kidnapped.
Ravengers. I said Scavengers earlier.
Yeah, Ravengers, Scavengers. It's all
right. But I found this, and maybe they say it in the movies. I didn't catch it. I did not think he even looked to be this age. But Peter Quill is roughly 40 years old in Guardians 3. That kind of blew my mind. Because currently in
real life, Chris Pratt's not even that old, I don't think.
Yeah, that kind of just blew my mind because he's very active, fragile, elusive, even though he's not a martial artist.
Right, he don't have any ability like that. But to be 43, honestly.
Roughly 40, he could be 43, 45.
He could be older or something like that. Yeah, because for Chris, he still looked young in that movie.
Right.
Way too young to be 43 or whatever. Which, with James Gunn, I learned this with James Gunn. He doesn't go strictly by comic books. He pulls from the source of the comic book, but he writes. The whole Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, 1 through 3, he wrote all of that. That's all pure written. Now, obviously,
great job.
Yeah, definitely. So, obviously, when there's connections to other characters outside of his realm, there's probably stuff like that. He has to coincide with people. But most of that he wrote. All of that stuff all this stuff that's come that the new Superman movie's about and all that stuff, this is a whole new story we've never seen before with just comic filler in there somewhere. So, I thought that was pretty interesting. I thought it was pretty interesting that's the way he writes. Like, he takes a lot of source material to make sure he's accurate, but then he changes pretty much the scenarios and situations around everything and creates a cool story. And I think he did a really good job of Guardians and different versions, like the movie version. His mom dies of cancer when he's 8. Peter's abducted by the Ravengers, led by Yondu. So, and then in the movie, it does tell you that in the movie that Ego actually paid Yondu to go get him and bring him to him, and Yondu decided to keep him. And then that's when he says,
he found out he was going eating.
Well, that, and then he found out, and then he said, he says it in the movie, I was small enough to get into all the cracks and stuff like that. So Yondu ended up using him. Yeah, he started using him. So, so the moral of the story we were trying to get to was, what if Peter Quill got a hold of the Nova helmet, stole the helmet for whether it'd be a good or bad purpose, and whether he would become the head prime and work for Nova Corps, or would it do the opposite with his celestial power and he be able to wield it?
Right.
And he's also turned heel. So,
he goes through the hill.
He goes through the hill, and then maybe he can full circle to figure out that he needs to be the prime.
Right.
So do we make the Nova that is in the story to begin with the Richard Rider? Do we just go with the original one? Like, so he's got to take it from somebody's got to have it.
It could be, Richard Rider. That would be.
Yeah, Richard Rider. He was the only other one that had it was Sam Alexander, and he was another good one. And then I guess it says here he was a teenager when he discovered that his father was Nova. So I'm assuming Richard Rider is Sam Alexander's dad. So obviously it's getting passed down in the family line. So then we could make some type of family connection there between Richard and Peter.
Well, he doesn't have to. I would say he doesn't keep the mask.
Okay.
In this story, well,
gives it back to Richard.
If we're using that situation where he has a son and that is the heir to it, maybe it's complete manipulation from Ego to get StarLord in here to get something for himself.
Right.
StarLord plays heel because he got manipulated into it,
By
tried
Ego.
to save the situation by reacting. And then it's down to the wire. StarLord's he's got Richard Rider's son up against the wall, and then he breaks, takes the helmet off, and the helmet chooses his son, and that's how he gets passed on.
That's how he gets back.
Then we introduce a new Nova.
Yeah, a new Nova. Now we got a little team behind it.
We got a whole new story out of StarLord before he retired.
Just like that. And that could be his going away party, is them pretty much not killing him or punishing him before having it. Just that's a ride off into the sunset moment.
Ego gets arrested. That's a good story, man.
Yeah, I think that's really good.